Hi, I'm Thomas Haire, the Chief Content Officer of the Performance-Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. I'm excited to welcome you to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These quick-hitting 20-minute live conversations featuring leaders in the performance marketing world, speaking about the hottest topics in the industry, will come to you twice a month. The Brand Response Council brings together media outlets, media agencies, and the clients both serve to build more powerful consensus and relationships across various mediums. The council serves as a visionary group looking ahead to find the brightest marketers and marketing ideas working in the evolving media marketplace. It's just one of 4 councils the PDMI and its members operate. For more information or to join, you can visit our website at thepdmi.com/membership. Now let's get to this episode. I'd like to welcome our guests. We have Michaela Giovengo of Hulu and Dan Kelly of Dish Media Sales on hand today to discuss the topic of attribution. Michaela is the Vice President of Performance Marketing at Hulu, where she's responsible for leading the team focused on driving Hulu's direct-to-consumer brand advertising revenue. Since joining Hulu in 2012, she's been instrumental in the development and growth of the Hulu Performance Marketing Unit, which has tripled in size and has resulted in expansive revenue growth year over year. Prior to joining Hulu, she spent more than 6 years at NBC Universal. Welcome, Michaela. And then Dan oversees general market and direct response efforts for Dish's Central and West Coast based sales teams. He's charged with leveraging Dish Media's entire suite of advertising offerings across Dish's satellite and Sling TV properties. His teams are dedicated to elevating the brand's presence at a market level while simultaneously providing the latest advanced ad solutions to their clients. So thanks, Dan, for joining us as well. As noted, today's topic is attribution. In the June issue of the PDMI's quarterly magazine results, we asked media leaders a single question, and in response, we had 8 leaders from 7 different PDMI member companies give us a varied array of thoughts about attribution. So here today, given the fact that everyone in performance marketing has their own definition and their own opinion about the importance of attribution, I'll ask you both that same single question. And Michaela, perhaps you'd like to tackle it first. What are the 3 most important things the client or advertiser needs to consider when it comes to attribution today?
Great, I'm happy to. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So as we know, attribution has become one of the most important aspects of any marketing campaign, specifically in streaming. There's no one-size-fits-all solution for attribution, but the industry is making it a priority, and there are various solutions available to brands. So the 3 most important aspects of attribution clients need to consider when thinking about measurement are data-driven approach, accountability, and optimization. And I can unpack those a little bit more. In regards to the data-driven approach, understanding the customer journey through the different data sets is key. Without accurate data, it'll be difficult to build the right models and give appropriate credit to all marketing executions. Accountability, having visibility and the right methodology to understand what is driving sales and demand. So utilizing multi-touch attribution helps determine the value of each customer's touch point that leads to a conversion. And as we know, each touch point is critical, not just the last touch or the first touch. And then lastly, optimization. This is one of the most important aspects of attribution. As brands dig into results, it's critical to continue to target those audiences who are converting and driving performance across all channels. So these 3 components should be looked at holistically to help make decisions on future spend for brands to acquire new customers more effectively and efficiently by having that transparency and visibility into the measurement of campaigns.
Wonderful. Dan, your thoughts?
I mean, to just build really on what Michaela's already shared, I would say attribution, like a big thing, keep in mind is that attribution has evolved. Just as media has evolved so much over the last several years, how we look at attribution needs to evolve as well. It's not just correlating air times with phone traffic or web traffic. There's a lot going on. We're all busy. We all have a phone within arm's reach at any given time. But because we're doing 6 other things, by the time we get to perhaps purchasing or looking into, something that we've seen on television, it might be a little later on. So the attribution does need to ebb and flow with the way our habits have changed. I would say each campaign is different, right? So attribution needs to clearly define at the beginning of the campaign, what is the KPI? Because, I mean, obviously, yes, ultimately, right, everything's about sales, but each program can be something different. And in today's D2C world, there's branding that needs to take place there too, right? Not just selling product, but also creating awareness and getting folks to be favorable towards a brand before they actually do make that purchase. So the KPI of a campaign can range from awareness to sales to web traffic, to even now to store traffic, right? With placed media and different tracking, we're able to tell who actually did go make their way onto a car dealership and so forth. So identifying that from the start, what is the KPI of the campaign is a critical element. And then I would say the other really important part of attribution, or a fundamental part to it, is first party data and the level of data that we can get. If a client is willing to share and what they actually collect, the amount of data that's collected on their part is just allows us more data points to match up with to help prove things out. And again, it's not just whether it was call volume or web traffic, it's the ability to actually see we converted that household to being a consumer. And we do that best when there's first party data that is shared. That allows us, to cross over multiple different points to really track and prove out that ROI. So that's really where attribution, has evolved. It really is not just ebbing and flowing with web traffic and phone calls. It's actual sales matched back to households. So, and it's not just in the performance world. This is across the board now, especially with the advances of addressable television and how much any kind of brand is looking for attribution in order to prove out ROI.
Yeah, and I would just piggyback on that in regards to the data piece of it, and to expand is that having that customer's first party data and understanding who your customer is, and then being able to see who that customer was that converted, and then know how long that customer converted. If it's a subscription service, did they stick with that subscription service for 6 months, 12 months, or did they do repeat purchases? So really that lifetime value customer is incredibly important to conversions and incredibly important to attribution, because there is a lot of the short-term acquisitions, and we know that how important conversions and purchases are. But if we're only looking at the short term, then you are discounting what's happening to customers that may take longer to convert, but those are customers that are more valuable to the brand, and those are customers that stick with it longer. So going back to the data piece, that's what's really important when you're thinking about the data and you know who your customer is, and then you have the ability to build off that data and know those customers that have been converting, and you can build lookalike audiences, and you can continue to analyze that audience and know exactly who you want to reach. And that ultimately is going to lead to an extremely effective campaign to reach the audience that you want to reach, and utilize that data to do that.
And Michaela brings up a great point in regards to the fact that to utilize attribution to just measure the current campaign would be a waste of data. The collection, that attribution data is then used to enhance your targeting for your next campaign, and your next media schedule is completing the circle, right? Complete the loop, continue to use it to Michaela's earlier point about optimization. That is, the real power of attribution. Yes, did this campaign work? Yes, it did, or maybe it didn't. We do have to, data does cut both ways. But what did we do the next time to adjust to that? We've now identified these are the folks that did transact. These are the ones that purchased. These are the ones that, went to a store and so forth. Okay, now let's take that group and identify everybody else that is just like them, and let's specifically go speak to them. Let's go target them. So attribution on the back end completes a campaign, but then it actually launches. It should be the cornerstone of that next campaign is your attribution and your learnings to using your data targeting.
Yeah, and I think your point about the targeting really brings up the personalization aspect of addressable TV. So once you're able to attribute who that consumer is and you're able to target them, the audience that you want to reach, you can then personalize your message to that specific audience. You could build your creative to that audience. You can, have different type of ad products that streaming service or addressable TV offers to really speak to that audience and have that two-way conversation. So it's not as much of, okay, here's an ad and, putting it in their face. You want it to feel more conversational. You want it to feel more part of the content. And I think that, that is what about advertising and how it has evolved in the last couple of years with addressable TV, with being more innovative with how we think about advertising. Advertising isn't about, beating that drum and hitting users with the same ad over and over again with just a traditional 15 and 30-second ad. And it really is about having that creativity and working with brands and platforms to be able to have that conversation with the consumers. And the consumers then are that much more receptive to ads, and they're that much more interested in learning about the brand. So that goes back to attribution, because if you fully understand the consumers and you understand where your campaign is going to be most effective, then you can continue to build on it, and you can continue to build audiences, build creative, optimize, and do everything you need to do to make that an extremely effective campaign across all your media channels.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the data aspect of it, and Dan brought it up first, and then you've really taken it from there, Michaela. The back and forth's been great, but how much first-party data are these folks willing to share? Are the clients willing to share? Is it vary, or are people open and willing?
I can jump in. I think it's a combination. I think clients are absolutely willing to share, but they want to make sure that it is going to a safe place, and they want to make sure that it is eventually not going to be held into the platform's not going to hold on to it. The third party's not going to. There's the great, what's fantastic about the way that advertising has evolved and attribution solutions is now there are so many various companies, third parties, and safe harbors that that D2C brands or any brand can send their first party through, so they don't have to be concerned about where that data is stored, how long it's stored for, and that's all being taken into consideration when you are working through the safe harbor or a third party vendor to make sure that that first party data is not something that is being utilized for other purposes.
Yeah, and that is such a critical point to data usage, especially today. CCPA and data is going to continue to be protected in more and different ways, and that's why the third party is definitely a key ingredient to that formula, because the fact that listen, we don't want the data, we don't want the client's first party data specifically to us, because that's just something that again, almost like a liability. But when we get a great set of data through that third party, again, we're passing our first party, viewership data through that same thing, just allows you to match up with more points. To, who's willing to share what? I mean, yeah, that's definitely varies from client to client, from agency to agency, quite honestly. More folks are getting comfortable with it as they realize how it's being utilized and how well it is being protected. And then there's also just the amount of what you can collect. You know, like sometimes it's just a matter you go to a store and you purchase something. If you didn't put in your shopper card or something else, you know, or you use cash, certain companies just aren't collecting a lot of data. So a lot of it does tie back to what's available. And those that do have robust data, they're getting more comfortable with utilizing certain key attributes that they've, you know, determined to be like the core kind of characteristics of their intended target.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, that's, you know, for direct to consumer brands, that's been such a valuable aspect of being able to have that first party data and have that relationship with the customer, to always speak to them, to get feedback, to understand what they're looking for in a product or what else they would need in order to continue to be a subscriber of the product. So I think, you know, and now as we see that there's many brands outside of the digitally native brands that are building a direct to consumer strategy. And that is really important, to be able to have that kind of one-to-one relationship with the customer. And, you know, we know that people are going to continue to buy in stores, but it's a lot harder to be able to track that and really be able to attribute what's happening in your marketing campaigns, as well as how you continue to improve the product and what the customers are looking for.
Right.
And I think also with the launch of so many new brands in that space, the data collection allows them to learn about their consumer, right? Where did they come from? What else are they doing? It's not just a matter of buying big ticket shows and programs. It's a matter of, all right, how is this consumer, you know, watching and consuming TV? Are they on a connected device? Are they streaming? Are they traditional TV watchers? Are they late night? Like the data collection allows the client to learn more about their customer. They get to see more of a portfolio of who their customer is, how they're interacting, and so forth. And then again, utilize that in future campaigns, because attribution doesn't end just, hey, okay, we proved that out. No, you got to continue to use the attribution data to continue to enhance your marketing.
Great. Well, thank you guys. We're coming to the end here of this 20 minutes, and we appreciate both of you for joining us. You know, if this conversation was interesting to you out there as a viewer, know that this is a lot of what's going on inside the Brand Response Council conversations like this, and what the PDMI is all about is fostering these kind of conversations that help build the industry forward. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, Michaela. Your opportunity as a viewer to attend a live online Take 20 episode and ask questions of our speakers will kick off in September. Keep an eye out for an announcement of the next episode and your opportunity to register. So thanks again for checking out this episode of PDMI's Take 20. We're going to let, I believe, Dan take that call. And enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your work week. Stay safe and stay well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.